I'm Dan Snyder, along with Matt, Alex, and Chris. Welcome to a new season of LCTV Sports Talk. Guys, let's jump right into it. First week of the NFL. Big stories. What I thought was Robert Griffin III coming into his own. Elite quarterback already, or give him a little bit of time?
I wouldn't call him elite, but I mean, Robert Griffin III, needless to say, he exceeded everyone's expectations, even though.
Stop.
That was actually really funny.
You don't have to keep laughing, though.
I thought it was that funny, my bad.
Well, even though all the hype surrounding Robert Griffin III, he's still exceeded everyone's expectations, and he broke my heart because the guy I was playing in fantasy happened to start him. But needless to say, against a very sporadic Saints defense, to say the least, he did well. Let's see how he does against the entire NFC East.
You know, I wasn't surprised that he did it against the Saints defense, like you said, but I was surprised at how he beat Drew Brees, arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I mean, Brees didn't have his best game. He threw an interception, I think. But Griffin just looked so poised in the pocket, and he looked like a veteran. He looked like Drew Brees out there.
It also helps that Mike Shanahan went out of his ego range for a few minutes and let Griffin run the offense he was so successful with in Baylor, the short crossing routes, the option runs, everything he already knew how to do, and imagine that it was successful.
He molded the playbook into what was a college football playbook, which is what Griffin's used to. He allowed him to get used to the system. Not to touch upon your point, it's not easy to beat the Saints in New Orleans either.
No.
One of the most hostile stadiums in the entire NFL, that's for sure.
I'll put it up there with Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right there.
And it's funny to hear Griffin talking about how, you know, it's the Superdome, but he was ready for it. Like they were like, it's going to be the loudest thing you've ever experienced, but he like took it on like it was no big deal. And he knew he had to throw the ball, but he knew that they didn't want him to run as much either. So he did a great job with that, running when he had to, and then keeping the play alive and making great throws, including that 88-yard touchdown pass, one of his first pass of the game. I mean, it was a great start to his career.
The first time in nearly 6 years that the Redskins scored 40 points in a game. It's pretty damn impressive.
Now, one thing, you have Robert Griffin III and the Redskins putting up 40 points against, as we said, a very sporadic Saints defense. But let's not forget, New Orleans put up 32 on Washington. With Washington's defensive questions and Robert Griffin III, how do we think that he could take them to a wild card maybe in the division title? Or do you think this is going to be like a 7-9, 8-8 season?
That's a tough conference, the NFC East, so I got to see what they're going to do. I mean, the Giants, yeah, they struggled the first game, but Eli Manning, he'll figure things out as the season goes on. I don't see much from the Cowboys. They always seem to fall apart.
Romo looked good in that fourth quarter for once in his life. He looked good in the fourth quarter against one of the best defenses in the league, in my opinion.
This is the way Dallas always plays, though. They play well at the beginning of the season, and then when January comes around, Tony Romo remembers how to not play quarterback in the NFL.
It's really too early to overreact. I mean, obviously, Michael Vick's not going to throw 4 interceptions every game. Robert Griffin's not going to throw for 320 yards every game. Eventually, everything regresses to the mean,
but I could see him being a 250, 275 quarterback with maybe a touchdown or 2 thrown in there, and he's going to run the ball still.
I mean, he's Cam Newton, but Cam Newton did last year. Defense has caught up to him. Maybe Griffin will be a little bit better. Can't wait to see.
Seeing Griffin do this, though, makes that division wide open. I mean, every team has a chance of winning that division, which is, you can't say that in really any other division in the NFL. I mean, it's going to make it a really interesting race.
That's for sure.
Moving on to a quarterback on the other side of the NFL, Peyton Manning. I know you're excited for this season, aren't you?
Being a Broncos fan, yes, I am. That's for sure.
Definitely shrugged off that neck injury, if you ask me. He played like the Peyton Manning of old.
I mean, I had my own questions coming in because in the preseason he was pretty all over the place. I mean, he didn't throw a touchdown until, I believe, the third game against San Francisco. He looked sharp, but he threw picks that you'd think a rookie would throw. And he came out against Pittsburgh, touted as one of the best defenses in the league again. And he comes out, throws for 290, 2 touchdowns, and he looked sharp on every single drive, making receivers like Eric Decker look like better than they really are, like what he did in Indianapolis.
Coming from Indianapolis with Wayne, and he had Harrison for a while, and Dallas Clark, he can take wide receivers who are somewhat no-name wide receivers and turn them into elite athletes.
Exactly.
And make them look good.
Exactly.
And Pittsburgh's defense isn't exactly a slouching defense, if you ask me.
That's exactly why. It's exactly why we know he's picking up where he left off as already one of the top quarterbacks in the league by making these guys better, like you said already, week 1.
I mean, I was just impressed with the fact that I mean, how do I put this? Like, Peyton Manning didn't show any sort of signs of the neck bothering him. Like, he even took hits from the Pittsburgh defense. Like, granted, James Harrison didn't play. I'm sure that would have made things a little bit different as far as the defensive line providing pressure, but the offensive line did a good job protecting him, and even when they didn't, he still stood poised in the pocket. He took sacks when he needed to. He didn't force unnecessary throws, and he didn't throw a pick, which is one of the most important things to not do if you're going to be an elite quarterback.
Definitely showing he shrugged off that injury. See how the season goes. If you can keep up, do you think he can keep up this pace, or do you think the injury might get to him a little bit?
I don't see any reasons why he can't. I mean, he went up against one of the better defenses, like you said. I mean, it wasn't home, so I'll give him that. He has a very tough road test coming up against Monday night against the Atlanta Falcons.
That's going to be a good contest.
It's in a dome. He's comfortable in the dome, but Atlanta, as we just saw them destroy, was it Kansas City, correct? And they just showed how dangerous they can be on offense. So we'll see if that's going to be a really high-powered offensive game, or maybe the defenses can start to step up a little bit.
Speaking of good defenses, San Francisco 49ers manhandled the Packers this weekend. A Packers defense that was number 1 or number 2 in the league in passing offense and points scored last season. They put up, 22 points?
15 and a special teams touchdown.
So is this more the 49ers offense or defense stopping the Packers, or the Green Bay just didn't show up to play?
Like, I don't think they didn't show up to play. It's week 1. They lost last year in the division playoffs. Obviously, they were pissed and ready to play in this game. It's just what 49ers went out and executed there. They had better personnel on defense, and they had a bit stronger defensive line than Green Bay did an offensive line. That's where the game starts.
I think you look at the quarterbacks. I mean, Rodgers didn't have a good game. You can really tell just by watching. And Alex Smith had a great game. I mean, that's got to be something really great for San Francisco fans to see moving forward with Alex Smith. I think he only threw maybe 6 or 7 incompletions in the game, I believe. And that's really great moving forward for them. And their defense is obviously best in the league. I mean, you can argue it, but
You also got to think, the Packers, when I look at them, they're a very one-sided team. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was carrying the bulk of the load in the passing game, and I believe he had the most rushing yards on the team, too. Because I know Ryan Grant is non-existent in Green Bay anymore.
For the most part.
Cedric Benson's the man.
Cedric Benson came from Cincinnati. I don't see him as an elite running back, though. Not anymore, not in this point in his career.
I mean, that game, Alex Smith, you do have to give him credit, like you said, but at the same time, we're talking about Green Bay, who had one of the worst defenses last year and the year before that. I mean, they're not that good of a defense. I think the most of this credit for this win has to go towards San Francisco preparing to shut down Aaron Rodgers, because that's what they went in and did. Sure, Aaron Rodgers, he did end up playing well. He got some late touchdowns, but for, I'd say, 75% of that game, they shut him down. It took them until, the third quarter to break double digits?
Let's give San Francisco's offense some credit, too. They went out and executed the game plan, the same exact game plan they shut teams down last year. Frank Gore, Alex Smith makes easy passes.
He's got a lot of weapons now. Picked up Manningham from New York. Randy Moss came in here.
But
they still have a guy named Vernon Davis, who's a pretty good tight end.
I almost think they brought in Manningham and Moss just to accentuate their run offense. Their run offense.
Yeah, because you have to put all the intention on the passing game with elite receivers like that.
You know, we look at San Francisco. They've always been a run team, but now we have Alex Smith throwing the ball, and if they can create this balanced offensive attack, they're going to be one of the toughest teams to beat.
Like Dan said, they have all the weapons now, too, at his disposal to throw to. He's got a huge target in Moss. Vernon Davis is an absolute freak. And then Manningham is good out of the slot as well.
So after seeing what you saw from Week 1, name one thing that you're most excited to see throughout the season.
I have to say Robert Griffin III. I'm interested to see if he can repeat kind of things that Cam Newton did last year. I think he's going to show signs of what Cam Newton did, and he's going to do the same thing. He's going to throw a lot of picks because let's face the facts, he is a rookie. Right. But I'm interested to see if he could have one of the better rookie years we've ever seen. Because I think he has that potential, but he needs to calm down and realize he is in the NFL now.
I'm interested to see if Chris Johnson can average over 2 yards a carry, and then the Giants, obviously, with their Super Bowl run.
Mark Sanchez, can he keep it up after Week 1? Can Rex Ryan make this quarterback combination work? I mean, I think Tebow just needs to be a role player and do his part, and if Sanchez can keep doing that, then playoff run, definitely.
Moving on from the NFL, very quickly, the Knicks are playing an exhibition game in the Carrier Dome against I believe it's against the Celtics.
Sixers.
Carmelo's return to the Syracuse area, though. What kind of reception do you think that's going to bring?
huge. I mean, he showed up at Midnight Madness last year, and I wasn't there, but I heard he got a huge ovation. I mean, he's like a god here in Syracuse.
He won the only championship in Syracuse's long storied history. Of course, he's gonna be welcomed back to the god. He built the damn Carmelo K. Anthony Center.
Everyone's going to love him. I mean, especially with this new Knicks team we have. I mean, we have a lot of Knicks fans in Syracuse, so it's going to be a good turnout.
Well, definitely going to be an exciting season. I mean, I'm not the biggest basketball fan myself, but for people in the Syracuse area, I can understand why this is such a big occasion for them. For LCTV Sports Talk, I'm Dan, along with Chris, Matt, and Alex. Thank you for watching.